Alright, so for these notes, what you really need to know first is y-intercepts are when we have the number that starts with x at time 0, and then we also need to know we read graphs like a book. We read them from left to right. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one by filling out the table. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our graph. So this point right here is -1 for the x's and 10 for the y's. Miss Robble, do you get that? Well, if I look down here, my x-axis, that's a -1. When I go to the right, that is a 10. The next point, we have 0 and 7. This starts at time 0 and is at 7. The next point is here, which is 1 and 4. Again, my x value when I drop down is a 1, and on the y-axis it's a 4. Then we have 2, 1, 3, -2, and I'm going fast because this is a video, so you can pause and rewind it. And we have 5, -8, and then we have 6, -11. So what's the y-intercept? Again, the y-intercept is the number with x at time 0, which in this case is right here. So this is your y-intercept on the table. On your graph, it's right here. Okay? And the y-intercept is always going to occur on your y-axis. So what is the point that happens on the y-axis? Okay? Our table here, for the x side, we are adding by 1 as we go down. So I'm going to put a +1 here. And then I am subtracting by 3 for the y side. So I'm subtracting by 3. Describing words, how do you get from one point to the next in the graph? So again, when I'm looking at the graph, going from left to right, so my left point is here, and then my right point is here. So how do I get from this first point to the second point? Well, I go down 3, and then I go to the right 1. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to write that we went down 3, right 1. Well, this is equal to, if I go down 3 in math, that means I'm getting less by 3. I'm subtracting 3. And we saw that we did that up here for the y values. So we subtracted 3 for the y's. Right 1 means we add 1. Well, we saw that up here for the x's, so we added 1 for the x's. Okay, so that's how those words, those movements that we do in our graph, that's how they correlate to our table, or that's how they are similar to our table. Then for our equation, we started with 7 at time 0, and we were subtracting 3 as we went down. So that's going to be letter B. Started with a +7, we were subtracting 3 as we go down. Let's look at 2. I'm going to go a little bit faster. Again, you want to go from left to right. So my leftmost point is here, and that's -3, -10. Then we had -2, -7. Then we have -1, -4. Then we have 0, -1. Then we have 1, 2. Then we have 2, 5. Then we have 3, 8. And then we have 4, 11. So our y-intercept is where the number with time x, well, that's right here. Our time 0 at x, when 0 is x, geez. And then here is where our y-intercept is on our graph. Again, always happening or passing through at that y-axis. When I go down my when I go down the x side of things, I'm adding by 1 as I go down, right? So I'm going to put +1 for what we do down our x side of things. For my y side of things, I might not know what's happening at first, but I definitely know to get from 2 to 5, I add 3. And since we are working with linears, we should be adding 3, because this whole second half of the unit 2, 2b, is all linear. So all adding and subtracting, that's all we're going to do. Okay? Then I want to look at my graph here from the left point to the next point on the right. So going from this first one to the second one, what did we do? Well, we went right 1 and then we went up 3. Both of those are good statements, so let me copy that, and we repeat that. We repeated that as we do go from one dot to the next. We go up 3 and then right 1. This is equal to adding by 3, and this is equal to adding by 1. Well, we did that earlier. We added by 1 for our x's, right? And then we added by 3 for our y's. Why did I write y squared? For our x's and for our y's. Now again, this one at time 0, we have a -1, and we are adding by 3 down our table, so our answer for the equation is A. Then I want you to pause, and I want you to do numbers 3 through 4 on your own, and we'll go over it together. So again, I want you to try it. I want you to really, really, really try it, okay? Okay, so here is the table from the graph. -1, 8, 0, 2, 1, -4, 2, -10. If you wrote 2, -10 first, again, remember, we want to go from the left side to the right side. The y-intercept in this case is going to be 0, 2, right? This is our y, our number with when x is 0. And on our graph, it passes through the y-axis. That's our y-intercept. How much are the x values going down by? Well, as I go down on the x side, we're adding by 1. What are my y values as I go down my table? Well, to get from 8 to 2, I have to subtract 6. So we're subtracting 6 as we go down my table. If I look at my graph here, from the left point to the right point here, I am going down. I go down 6, and I went right 1. And when I write that in my table here, down 6 represents the -6 for our y's that we did right here. And then right 1 is adding by 1 that we did for our x's right here. Okay? Which of the equations match the graph? I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't A. It's not A. A, with that 1 here, that's telling me we started, that 1 was our y-intercept. That's not true. Our y-intercept was 2, and we subtracted 6 down our table. So that's how we get letter B. Here is number 4's x-axis. I'm sorry, their graph. The y-intercept is 0, -8. Again, the y-intercept is the number with x at time 0. And on my graph, it passes through the y-axis, okay? It's asking me what am I adding by for my x's? Well, again, to go down this table, we were adding by 1 for our x's. When we go down the y side, we are subtracting 5. We are subtracting 5. So I can actually describe in words. If you want to use the graph, you can. But based on the knowledge that I've gotten from the previous 3, if I'm subtracting 5 from my y's, that means I go down 5 in my table, okay? Because again, we are subtracting 5 for our y's. And then we're going to go to the right 1 because we are adding by 1 for our x's. So y's go up or down. X's are going to go left or right. And again, they go to the left, and that's negative for the x's. Okay? We started with a y-intercept at -8, and we are going down by 5, so our equation is going to be letter B. That tells me my y-intercept is -8, and we are going down by 5. So what would the next point be? Well, if I add 1, 0 plus 1 is 1. If I subtract 5, -8 minus 5 is -13. There is no homework that goes with this, so have a good day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.